What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on the WNBA and the WNBA cap, right? As far as like their salary, um, and what I believe that the WNBA never wanted to see a league full of female millionaires. And I say that like because historically you can't point out like female athletes in this country that really make a lot of money. And anytime a female athlete from this country from USA make a lot of money, she's she is in a situation where she is dealing with people like on an international level. Like if you are a big model, a big time model, then like models, if you go to a model agency and they get the models go all over the world. So that's why those women in the model agency they make a lot of money. Or if you look at female tennis players, like those tennis and those golf tournaments that women get into, if you're an American born, you deal with it again. You're playing not only in the United States, but then you're playing on an international level. So the money can be made there. But primarily, like if and I can't even really think of a sport, a league that they have here in the United States where you have a league full of women that are making like a ton of money. So what that means is what it just gives it gives like what is that called? Like sexism. Like they don't like they put a cap on what women can make in this country. All the women that get really highly paid are getting paid because like they're dealing on an international level. You look at boxing, right? You got Clarissa Shields in female boxing, and I think she makes some good money, but I don't think that she make the level of money that like nowhere near what men make. But she made good money, for women, but she's not like like filthy rich or anything like that. Clarissa Shields not, and most of the women in female boxing, and then when you got the women who fight MMA, they not really making a ton of money either. So it's not just in the WNBA, but I think across the board, like in all these sports, women don't make money. Now, like I said, we don't have like a professional women's baseball league. The basketball players was getting paid horribly. The WNBA was paying them horribly. We don't have a women's football league, although we got lingerie league. Um, but other than that, when you look at female athletes in this country, they don't get paid. They don't make money. And so what they try to say, I guess they try to say that like there is no market. There's no market for female athletes, right? But I think it goes deeper than that. I think, like I said, I think it goes to prejudice, chauvinism. Uh, you know, I just think it, like big business is run by a bunch of chauvinists, and they, in my opinion, don't want to see a whole bunch of rich women running around. It just, in my opinion, that's just what it looked like. I can't think of one sport where you have like women that are really getting paid that don't, like I said, now they don't deal on an international level. All sports that deal on an international level, there's opportunity there for women to get paid. Even WNBA players have to go outside of this country really to make money, to make the kind of money that can support them and their family. Or they have to be lucky enough to be like Candace Parker and have be on TV, something like that. You got to be on TV, or they coach colleges and stuff like that. But you're not going to get rich. Traditionally, you're not going to get rich being a female athlete in the United States. unless like I said, unless you're playing a sport that helps you to deal, that helps you to like play international. But this country right here not going to allow women to do that, and it's proof. I can't, like I said, I'm trying to think of a sport where you got women that's just the top women in their sport are living very, very well. It just don't happen unless you know, I don't see it. And I wonder why that is, because you do have female entertainers who make a lot of money, like female rappers. You might have like Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, they make a lot of money in their industry. But in the sports industry, you don't have it. You got Jennifer Lopez. She's in the entertainment industry. She make a lot of money, doing movies and stuff like that. And other actresses, well-known actresses who make a lot of money. But female athletes, you don't see it. I don't see it. You gotta be. And the only reason why now these women in the WNBA are going to get a big pay raise is because the WNBA game is going to do what the NBA game did, and it's going to be international. And the reason why it's going international is because of Caitlin Clark, that beef that was started by Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. That exposed everything, really. And I'm sure it was unintentional, right? That was unintentional because I mean, you couldn't plan that, you know, for that beef to take off the way it did, and expose the fact that it just gave the WNBA players so much momentum. You know, when it came to when it came to exposing, like the fact that they weren't getting paid like they should get paid. Other than that, if that beef between if that beef between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark don't happen, I don't think, even though Caitlin Clark has a large following and she has a like she has a large following, Angel Reese has a large following, and those two fan bases collided. And I think some business people realize like there's definitely a market. It's local business. They realize that there's definitely a market for the WNBA, and this will be a great time for us to step in. That's why you got the Unrivaled League. People invested in the Unrivaled League because they see that it's time for women's basketball to go international. They had already, like I said, women had already been going overseas to make money. They've been playing in Italy, Europe, um, Asia. So I'm not sure if they got women's leagues in Germany. I think they do. But women have always been going overseas and playing money and playing basketball and making more money. But now the opportunity, I think business people realize like this is the perfect opportunity to grow that European league. And even if the WNBA didn't want to grow, European League will be able to do that because of streaming, because of technology now. Like they can broadcast those games all over the world. And so that's what's getting ready to happen. That's why the WNBA is ready to give these young ladies all this money, when they could have been. The NBA went international back. Michael Jordan was playing. That's what the dream team was all about. It was all about being Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, all those guys. They were ambassadors. They had a mission when they went over to play in those Olympics. They were ambassadors for the NBA and the sport of basketball, and they sold basketball to the world. And they could have done that back then with the women. They could, like they could have did that back in the 80s when they did it with the men. They could have did it with the women because there was already a world market for basketball, for women's basketball. So they just, the cap has been taken off. And now Silver has announced that these women will be getting substantial raises. Is that, out the kindness of his heart? Is that because of the attention that Caitlin Clark has brought to the league? Some people might say that's it. It's because of the attention that Caitlin Clark has brought to the league, which that partly that is true. But when you paying them they were paying them 9%, which is the lowest. Like nine. What is it called? They're paying like their pay was 9% of the revenue share, which is the lowest in professional sport, 9%. So the opportunity has always been there. It's just that now that their hand has been forced. That's basically what it is. They could have been getting more than 9%. And even with Caitlin Clark coming along, that would have upped it more, but I think that, it was mainly discrimination, um, chauvinism and stuff like that, because women don't get paid. Women's sports don't get paid. They don't get the respect that men's sports get in this country. And so that's my take on it. Y'all make sure to like and subscribe. And with that being said, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.